today's recipe. And I can't... Banana muffins! Banana crumble muffins. Banana flavored muffins, which also have crumble on them. Crumbled banana... Let's just make these things. So this is a recipe from one of my favorite pastry recipe books called Bouchon Bakery by Thomas Keller and Sebastian Ruel, and it is their banana crumble muffin. So we're going to be making this in like a cupcake version, and this is an awesome recipe to do the night before because they recommend leaving their batter for up to 36 hours. Can make it in the morning or the night before and then have freshly baked muffins or cupcakes in the morning with your tea or coffee, so perfect. Okay guys, so to make this recipe you will need a plethora of ingredients. So the first thing you want to start with is 168 grams of cake flour. To make cake flour you just need to subtract 2 tablespoons of flour from every cup and replace it with 2 tablespoons of corn flour, or in grams that's 140 grams of plain flour to every 20 grams of corn flour. I've also in the same bowl 4 grams or 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, 2 grams or half a teaspoon of baking powder, and 4.5 grams, which is about 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt, and those are all just going to get sifted together. Then I also have 144 grams of brown sugar, 24 grams of creme fraiche, and if you don't have creme fraiche you can just use sour cream or a natural unsweetened yogurt, 80 grams of egg, 120 grams of unsalted room temperature butter, and we're going to take this to a stage which we like to call butter pomade, which is where the butter is so softened that it almost resembles a mayonnaise, and sometimes you might need to put that in the mixing bowl that you're going to use and put it over a water bath or put it over a little bit of a heat just to make it really soft, so that it's still emulsified but it's like right before the stage where it starts to break down into a liquid. 256 grams of blackened bananas. That's about 2 large bananas. If you use bananas that aren't ripe enough, you're going to throw off the whole sweetness of your recipe. And lastly, 7 grams of good quality vanilla. Start by warming up your bowl to make your butter pomade. This is the consistency that you want your butter at, and it should be kind of like a mayonnaise consistency. Next, add in the brown sugar on low speed. You want to go ahead and whip that on high speed for about a minute and then follow on with your eggs. It is so important that you don't over whip your eggs here, guys. Your mix will look split, but it will all come together when you start adding your dry ingredients. And trust me on this one, have a little faith. Go ahead and add your vanilla now, and then follow that with your dry ingredients and just turn on low speed for 30 seconds to a minute, just until it's combined. Go ahead and add in your banana creme fraiche mixture. Bring together once more on low speed for about 30 seconds, and make sure you're scraping down that bowl between each and every addition. We're all friends here, everyone's invited to the party, so make sure we're all incorporated well. By this point, your batter should be looking like a creamy custard with a few banana diamonds in there. Let's transfer all of that mixture into a bowl, preferably glass, we don't store things in metal, and then we're going to wrap it with something somewhat airtight to allow the flavors to develop and the flour to hydrate for the next 24 to 36 hours. Alright, and on to our crumble mixture. Going in first with 120 grams of raw sugar. White sugar works here also. I like raw because it's crunchy. 120 grams of ground almond meal, 120 grams of plain all-purpose flour, and 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Dice up 120 grams of ice-cold unsalted butter, pinching and rubbing into the mixture until a solid crumble has formed. Well, good morning. We are going to be baking our muffins this morning. We're going to continue with that, and we're going to need our muffin tray and some good size muffin papers. You can also bake these in like jumbo muffin wrappers, but I'm doing the cupcake sort of size. So whichever you want, you're just going to have to use your chefy senses and keep an eye on how long they'll need in the oven until they're ready, and they will be a nice golden brown and spring back to your touch. Give a little spray lightly into each paper. And I'm using one of these good sized muffin scoops, but you can just use spoons or whatever you have. And you want to fill these up about a ½ inch from the top of the paper, because we need to leave room to add our crumble topping. So here's our crumble topping the next day. It's completely solid, and you'll find that if you left it in a bowl like I did, that the whole bottom layer will be really compressed and hard. But just take a fork and smash it all up and make sure that your pieces aren't too big. And if you like them really chunky, that's fine, but you'll fit less inside of your paper and they'll just kind of roll off. Also, some of this will cook into the muffin and make it go more golden and add more moisture, because there is a lot of butter in there as well. So try to add as much as you can. I like to add a really good healthy handful and pile it up, and then you want to try and press it gently into the batter. And that's it. So we're going to bake these until they're golden and they spring back when you touch them. So this is also another way that I really love to do anything that's sort of like a muffin or a cake mix, is I have one of these short cylinder silicone molds, line it with a tall baking paper collar, and then put the batter inside right up to the top. Because you have the collar, it'll actually grow a lot higher, and then you can just pack down the streusel on top and you'll get like a very cool professional looking cake. I'm going to do that for my thumbnail. Place a small ramekin of hot water in the bottom of the oven for your muffins to rise more evenly and stop them from drying out.